Hey, what is up, guys? It is your boy, Kingdom Soldier, and welcome back to episode 2 of the Kingdom Story. Thank you guys for the love shown on the first episode. People have been tweeting at me every day since I released it, even this morning. People are like, where is part 2? Where is the second episode? So we left off in the first episode with my mom telling my dad, you will never see these kids ever again. And I won't tell you guys now, but I didn't see my dad till I was in college, and I didn't talk to him till my senior year in high school. So I was gonna skip to high school because my freshman and sophomore years of high school were in California, and I basically had to move out of California because of what I did in my freshman and sophomore years of high school and the trouble I got in and the stuff I experimented with and all that. But I can't skip over what I like to call the age of innocence in Kingdom Soldier's life, in Anthony's life. And the age of innocence is middle school for me. I did get in my first fight when I was in middle school towards the end, but my mom had married this other man, and he was my stepdad. He was so cool. He could dunk a basketball with ease. He was a great basketball player. Took us to the park all the time. He was a lot younger than my mom, and so he liked like rap music. He exposed me to that. He was funny. I mean, this dude was hilarious. You know, he could have been a stand-up comedian. Just was the coolest dad ever. And a lot of during my time where we were one little happy family, the four of us. We lived in our first house ever, with a pool in the back. I mean, it was great. He was a security manager, so it was really hard to lie to him. But there was this one time where I got away with murder, and so my dad, he drank Squirt. And Squirt is like Mountain Dew for those of you guys that don't know. So he had like this 2 liter, not 2 liter, but the 1 liter thing of Squirt in the fridge. And me and my brother knew not to touch it. But one day I walk downstairs and I walk in the kitchen, and lo and behold, see my brother with the fridge open drinking my dad's Squirt. And he had just taken like a sip. I mean, he barely drank any of it. And he closed it really, really tight, and he put it back in the fridge. And I was like, ooh, you're gonna get in trouble. And my brother was like, it's just a sip, he's not gonna know, you know. My brother proceeds to go play basketball. Now, while my brother's gone, you know, I'm stuck at home, like sitting watching probably the Three Stooges or something, because my dad forced the Three Stooges on us, so we ended up liking it. So I'm probably watching the Three Stooges, and my brother's not home, my mom's not home, my dad's not home. Me and the Squirt are alone in the house. So I go in the kitchen, I open the fridge, and I look at it for a while, and then finally I open the Squirt, and I take like the biggest gulp, like maybe 2 gulps, and I look at the bottle and I'm like, oh crap. It is like half empty. What am I going to do? Now, my dad had already taken like 2 drinks off of it, you know, so there was a little bit gone. But now there's over half of it gone. So I go to the sink and I pour enough water into it to get back to where it was. I close it really tight and I put it exactly where my brother left it. And then I went back and sat on the couch and watched some more Three Stooges. My dad gets home, and he gets home. My mom's not home yet. My brother's upstairs doing homework. I'm sitting on the couch. My dad's behind me in the kitchen, and I know he's opening the fridge and going for his Squirt. So I'm just watching TV. I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm probably going to get a whooping. I don't know how this is going to go down. I don't want to get caught lying, because my dad, when I say he was a security manager, he was security manager for one of the largest computer companies in the world at that time. And so he could tell if you were lying by looking at your pupils. And he would do this to me and my brother sometimes. So I'm just sitting there, and my dad says, Anthony. And I'm like, yeah. And I didn't turn around looking at him. I just kind of turned like this. And he was like, did you drink my Squirt? And I said, because I didn't want to lie, I said, I think you might want to ask Alex about that. And I just kept watching TV. He went up, he called my brother, he said, Alex! My brother said, yeah. He said, get down here. He came downstairs. He said, did you drink my Squirt? And my brother was like, I just took a sip. I'm so sorry. I just took a sip. And he's like, do you think that I'm stupid? And he's like, what do you mean? He's like, you drank like half of it and filled it with water. How stupid do you think that I am, that I wouldn't be able to tell the difference? My brother's like, I promise I didn't put any water in it. He starts It's bad that I'm laughing at this, but he starts crying, and he's like, "I'm so sorry." And he was a year younger than me, so he's probably 13. I'm 14. "I'm so sorry. I promise I didn't put any. Get upstairs." He tells my brother to go upstairs, get in the bathroom. My dad rips his belt off. He goes upstairs, spanks my brother. My brother's upstairs crying while he's getting spanked, and I'm just watching the Three Stooges. 1 year later, I decided I wanted to fess up. So it's Christmas time, and my dad is having this argument with me and my brother about, you guys have never gotten away with anything. Everything you've done, I knew about. And I'm like, you don't know everything. And he's like, yes, I do. I'm like, you don't know about the time when we snuck out the house when we were like 3 years earlier, when we were in fifth and sixth grade, when we snuck out the house and we went to across the parking lot in our old apartment to our girlfriend's house. Me and my brother like kind of shared a girlfriend. We went to our girlfriend's house and gave her a hug and a kiss. And he was like, "I know that you did that." He was like, "I saw you." And I was like, "What?" He was like, "I saw you come back." He was like, "I just let you do it." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "I know everything you've done. You've never gotten away with anything." And I said, "Well, I don't know how true that is, Dad." And he was like, "Tell me, what have you gotten away with? What do you think you've gotten away with?" I was like, "Well, you remember last year when Alex got a spanking for drinking your squirt?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, I drank your squirt." My dad's face. I mean, and my dad was a dark black man. His face turned red. He was pissed. He actually went upstairs and then asked my mom for permission to punish me. He wanted to spank me for something I got away with for a year prior. He was so mad that I had gotten away with. Now my brother was mad as well. My brother was actually pretty furious, but he was like, "Well, I got a whooping." I did technically drink his squirt because my brother did drink the squirt. And I knew that. And I explained to my dad, I said, I knew that Alex had drank. I told him how I got away with it. He was so mad. It was one of the craziest moments in the age of innocence. But one of the only things it was probably the only thing I ever got away with when that guy was my dad. Now, he wasn't always my dad because eventually he, my mom and him came home one day and told me and my brother that they were going to be separated. And they did it in the stupidest way. Like, they're smiling and giggling about it. And my brother starts bawling right next to me. And I'm like, and my mom's like, "Well, what's wrong?" And I'm like, "What do you think is wrong?" You know, I was always the big brother, like, defensive type of mode, especially when the men in my mom's life were being jerks. And I was like, "What do you think is wrong?" It's like, you call us from outside and tell us you just need to talk to us real quick, and you're sitting here smiling next to each other, telling us that our dad's going to be moving out and living with somewhere else, and that things are going to change. And my mom was like, "Well, how are we supposed to tell you? We didn't know. We don't want you guys to be upset about it." Of course we're upset. I was pissed, and I hugged my brother, and I took him upstairs, and he kept crying. And 2 days later, my dad calls me and my brother to his room, and he's like, "Hey, look at this." And he shows us a picture of this woman who's noticeably like 7 months pregnant. And we're like, "Oh, who's this?" And he's like, "I'm gonna have a son." And I was like, and I didn't know what to do, so I was just like, "Awesome." And I remember how pissed my mom was that we were happy for him. My brother was actually happy for him. He didn't know how to, we were kids. We didn't know how to react in these moments. So we actually told my dad we were happy that he was going to have the kid with this lady that lived in another state. And my dad was like, "Yeah, she's going to move out here." And we were like, "That's awesome, Dad. That's great." We didn't know what to do. So yet another jerk in my mom's life. They did end up getting a divorce, but my dad moved like not even 10 minutes away from our house. And so when I got out of the age of innocence and started to experiment with drugs and sell stuff and steal cars and get into gangs and get suspended repeatedly, and get in fights and all the stuff that happened in the next few years, my freshman and sophomore year of high school, my dad lived near us when all of that happened. So I'm going to start the next episode by telling you guys about. I had to tell you about the Age of Innocence. You know, this is where I started collecting comic books, which I still have to this day. I got the death of Superman, when Superman came back to life. I mean, I have comics that are worth a good amount of money. My kids don't get to touch them, and they're in pristine condition from like the early 90s. You know, I have comics from that far away. You know, I rode BMX bikes at this stage. I skateboarded. This was the Age of Innocence. It was when I actually just had fun as a kid. And when my dad left, no sooner than he was moved out of the house, that I got in my first fight with this guy named Brian. And I'm going to tell you about my fight with Brian because it was actually pretty funny, and how that got my first suspension from school. And then I went into high school and just went bananas. I appreciate you guys' love on this series. I really, really do. This is your boy, Kingdom Soldier, and I'll see you guys in episode 3. Peace.